Have you tried the new Pinpoint disposables yet? They're seriously smooth. They're so small they fit in that little coin pocket in your jeans. They're easy to use and they hit just right. And whether you're trying to chill or vibe or take things up a notch, these compact sized vapes bring the flavor and the effects without any hassle. Just grab one, take a hit, and you're good to go. They're perfect for when you're on the move or just kicking back, and they're definitely worth checking out. And if you want to check out more about Pinpoint vapes, check out pinpoint-extracts.com.
Welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am Tim Pickett, and with me is Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Tim.
How was your 420?
It was uneventful, really.
Yeah.
No. The thing is, like, I had a great time.
Yeah.
But it was Easter. So we did a lot more family friendly activities this year than we normally get into on 420. We talked to Sam Toman recently.
Yeah.
Last year was my 420 to end all 420. So
yeah,
from this point forward, I don't know that I'm gonna get super hype about 420. We'll see.
Yeah.
Invite me to your 420 events for 2026, and we'll see if you can top what High Fidelity and the Good Taste team did in 2024. 2025 was Family Fun Day for the Dunn clan. We did some barbecuing, we did some Easter egg hunting and things like that after we got back from St. Louis. So yeah, not a super like blazy Sunday 420 for us. What was it like for you?
Oh, just waking up, being a dad, working in the cannabis industry. I didn't really do anything. I didn't really celebrate.
Listen, I don't know how well that's going to translate to the audio on the podcast, but in my ears and watching it at the same time, that was one of my favorite experiences in all of this so far. That was magical. It was exactly the perfect tone and pitch and delivery. Like it was chef's kiss. That was fucking
what
rad.
are you gonna do? Hey, but we have a lot of stuff here that I want to get into. But
hey, you know what? Just go ahead and just cut me off and tell me, hey, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Oh, that's what you were doing. You know
what I was doing.
Take
it
away, Daddy.
I'm very there's not too much excitement on my end on the 420 side. But check this out. Well, first of all, we have a guest today.
I did do some smoking on 420.
Did I?
No, I did. I did do some smoking on 420.
Tell me.
But it was pork. It was pork shoulder.
You got me.
Hey, you know what? I hear we got a guest today.
Yeah, we do. Alex.
I fucking love Alex. Oh, I'm
Alex
so sorry,
Verts.
dude. I'm sorry. I'm on one this morning.
You are.
I'm hyped up. I'm having a good day. I got my last cardigan of cardigan season before we switch into
right.
Look, I could go in several different directions. I'm a little too hyper today. So I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna take a big breather. I'm gonna stop stepping on your toes. We are gonna be speaking to Alex from Verts. One of my favorite dudes. They're director of retail. One of my favorite dispensary chains in the state. Just good vibes all around from the good team at Verts. Please.
Okay, well,
retake control of this shit right now because
you're gonna
I'm all over the place.
You're gonna jump right back in because this is one of our favorite topics: medical patients. So I saw an article over the weekend or week called "The Cannabis Industry is Failing Medical Patients." It's an op-ed by Kenneth Epstein, and this is in the Cannabis Business Times.
I got really excited for a second because I was like, we had a really good article, a really good op-ed that Tim got excited about. And then you're like, in Cannabis Business Times. I'm like, that tracks. That tracks.
So Kenneth brings up some outstanding points, and I do want to read word for word some of his stuff so I don't so I say it correctly. So he's
you
saying,
don't get the wrong frequency.
yeah, I don't want to get the wrong frequency here with
From Kenneth.
Kenneth.
Would you say what's the frequency?
What's with
Kenneth?
frequency, Kenneth? There you go. What? That REM?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What's the frequency, Kenneth? Okay, so he says before licensed dispensaries, venture capital, and mass market branding, there were patients. Do you remember that?
I believe we've been talking about patients recently, but
We have.
I'm on board with Kenneth so far.
So am I. Okay, the legal cannabis industry exists today because of them. Another fact.
I mean, Kenneth is forgetting the 50, 60 plus years of building the cannabis market on the back of the disenfranchised and locking people up. But we got any kind of legalization because of medical.
Right.
And so in that regard,
Maybe that's what
he
he's
is
going at.
100% correct. I digress. Let's hear what Kenneth has to say.
Okay, so yes, so he's talking about it was patients living with AIDS, cancer, autism, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and other debilitating conditions who fought for legalization, on top of other people, obviously. Their advocacy, their stories, and their medical needs convinced policymakers to take cannabis seriously. Yet today, those patients have been left behind. Intriguing. So he goes on to say, while the cannabis market is struggling, flower prices have collapsed, profit margins are shrinking, and brands are failing to differentiate themselves. So most of the time, it's not their fault. Yet millions of patients are suffering from over 80 medical conditions linked to the endocannabinoid system, and they are still searching for products designed for them. So basically, what he's saying is right now, a majority of people are marketing towards what we were talking about, high THC, more on the rec side. Let's go get effed up as quick as and get as high as possible. And what they're doing is they're missing out on the people that, myself included, that got into it for the medical side, hoping at this point there would be more things aimed towards the medical patients. And I've seen a little, Curio Wellness does a good job of that. There's a few others that kind of,
Bud and Mary's does
Bud and
does some
Mary's.
cool stuff. They have a really cool story being
Heartland.
from Iowa. From did you say Ireland?
Heartland.
Oh, Heartland Labs. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry. I said they have a really cool story being from, and I thought you said Ireland.
No.
Bud and Mary's, they were founded in Iowa. There's only like 20,000 patients total in Iowa.
Huh.
Yeah. So this really cool brand, that's based in both Colorado and Iowa. Their roots are, they were simultaneously brought up in Colorado and Iowa only has like 15,000 patients. So.
Huh. Okay. Well,
But but to your point, Curio, Bud and Mary's, Heartland.
there's others, obviously.
Yeah,
but like
100%.
those come to mind as like medical. And actually, I think Verts began as a medical only dispensary in 2014. We'll get into that later. But anyway, that I remember reading that. So what he's talking about here is how these brands can win over the medical market, hopefully before down the road where some of the big dogs come in. I won't mention names of companies, but will come in and take over and do the whole medical thing. I think there are brands now that can refocus back on the medical patients because there's a lot of them that need some more guidance. Because, right now we have like the 1-to-1 CBD to THC. There's a couple like that, there's the CBNs and that kind of stuff. But I know there's a weird line. You have to toe the line between medical advice and giving people options of what could help with their systems, with their symptoms. I know that's it. It's a tough line. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't say, hey, this helps with migraines. That's a medical claim. You can get in trouble. So it's tough to say that kind of stuff. But there is a market that needs information like that.
So, yes, it's tough. But the other side of that is even people in the industry are undereducated.
Yes.
There are people that I've talked to. I still get asked questions. I'm # disclaimer. I am not a medical expert. I am not a cannabis expert. I am barely a functioning human. I'm a pretty good dad. Other than being a dad and coaching, I make no claims of being good or being great at anything, and so everything I say take with a hefty tablespoon of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But I still to this day have people that have been in the industry since 2019 2020 ask me questions about I literally had someone, he hasn't been in that long, but I had someone recently ask me about taking a tea break. And he's like, I realized my tolerance was so high.
Yeah.
And I basically went to Chat GPT and was like, this is a person who works in the industry and went to Chat GPT to ask what he should do.
Wow.
And then when he got an answer, he came back and was like, hey, is this real? If we as an industry are undereducated on both the practice of consuming cannabis as well as the effects of consuming cannabis, and we're pushing for higher THC and things like that because it's a good marketing gimmick, then it's no wonder that patients don't and consumers don't get what they want and what they need. What was his solution or idea?
So here are some of his ideas. Develop targeted medical formulations. So instead of generic THC CBD ratios, create products tailored for specific conditions, which I'm not sure how you do that, but neuropathic pain, inflammation, sleep disorders, women's health. I mean, I don't know how you can do that verbiage wise, but I like where he's going. I'm sure it's different state to state.
It's the same as Curio GI.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just about, and with cannabis, it's not going to affect everyone the same way. But neither do SSRIs, neither do pain medications and antipsychotics and things like that. Everybody gets very caught up in the concept that like cannabis doesn't do the same thing for neither does alcohol.
Right.
I know people that are great on whiskey, terrible on tequila. We're over expecting sometimes.
Agree. Invest in research and patient trials. So this was something I thought I would be seeing a lot more of these days. I see it occasionally, but it's like it's basically cannabis on a high level. Cannabis use will have you grow a tail if you smoke it every day. That's one. And then the next one will be like, really helps with your migraines or something like that. So I haven't found any sort of like, hey, this is where I go for cannabis research. Now, mind you, I haven't done a ton of research on that end, but I was hoping at this point we'd see a lot more of that.
To exactly what you just said, one of the reasons that we're not seeing enough of that is because in pharmaceuticals, and the companies go out, they do R&D, they do their own focus groups, they do their own testing and things like that. And cannabis companies have more regulations. There's some more loopholes to jump through. But now that we have gifting and things like that, there are ways to do that stuff. but it's a lot less profitable to be
Exactly.
doing
Exactly.
R&D
Yep.
than it is to just be
Yep.
creating
Right. Yep.
fun 5,000 milligram gummies.
Yeah.
That
Right.
5,000 milligrams per piece, not per bag.
Right. Yeah. In
They're this big,
suppository form or
that thick.
something. Yeah, I'm sure.
Uh,
Another
Eat it like a
thing,
sandwich.
upgrade packaging and labeling. Good luck in Missouri. And then build relationships with healthcare providers, partnering with doctors, nurses, patient advocacy groups, that kind of stuff. Interesting.
That one I will say, if he doesn't have a background in healthcare, he's unfairly throwing the cannabis industry under the bus, because it's very, very hard. I know of a lot of cannabis companies that have tried to do that, some successfully, but it's really hard because the vast majority of doctors work for a network or work for a hospital system now.
Yep.
And most of them are, because they get federal grants, because they get federal
Yep.
We're still federally illegal. They're like, I can't be tied to it.
Yep. Yep. I've had a situation where when it became medical here, I asked my primary physician. He agreed and wanted to give me the prescription, but there was a doctor in his group that didn't agree. And so it kind of canceled out the whole thing. He said, if I'm not here and you need a prescription, this is before everyone started to realize how to deal with the medical side of stuff. He's like, if I'm not here and you need a prescription refill and he's here, he's not going to fill it. So it's not a fight worth fighting. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Whatever. So
it's tough, man.
It is.
But I will say, I don't think that one's necessarily for the lack of trying, especially in the early days of medical. In a lot of places, it just cover your ass applies to a lot of different people in a lot of different positions.
Right.
Was that his last suggestion? Because I keep fucking hopping in front, and I
no
apologize.
that was his last suggestion. So I thought it was very interesting. We could talk on this for hours, but I do want to get Alex in here and start to learn more about what he does at Verts. So want to bring him in? Let's bring him in.
Let's go find him.
Let's go find him. Alex. This 420 season, Vivid is bringing the heat with Scratch and Stash. Your shot to win big just for shopping. What do? Let me explain. You buy any Vivid, Buoyant Bob, or Missouri's own product at a participating dispensary, and you'll get a scratch-off card. You grab your little wooden nickel out of your pocket, scratch her off, 2 per visit, max, scratch, to reveal instant product prizes you can stash for your next trip in. But here's the coolest part. Every card gives you a shot at the grand prize, which is $10,000 in Vivid products, plus a chance to win a tour of Vivid's grow facility and $200 in merch. The promo runs now through May 11th, but cards are only available while supplies last. Find out where to play and enter your codes at showmeorganics.com/scratch-n-stash. Grab your goods, scratch the card, stash the win. Good luck. Welcome back to Greenway Audio Magazine. We are here with Alex Roschitz. Alex, thank you for joining us. Now, Alex, you are with Verts, and your official title is Director of Retail, correct?
Correct.
But the title that we want you to go by, because we think it's even cooler, is VibeCheck Coordinator.
Correct. I've got it on a couple business cards. I've got it on a hoodie.
And it's official.
It's official. It's yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. So tell us about Verts, because I've been to a couple, specifically the Pacific one. It's closest to me. Tell us about Verts. You're multi-state, right?
Yeah. So originally the Verts company started in Colorado in 2014. And then in, I think it was the beginning of 2022, we rebranded some dispensaries out here in Missouri and became a Verts Neighborhood Dispensary in Missouri as well.
So it didn't start as Verts?
Correct, correct. They had
Okay.
originally they had an operational agreement with another group that lasted
Got
about
it.
a year, and then in 2022, um, yeah, we kind of took over in name and as well as management team. So
Is there a story behind Verts? Like, what is the reasoning behind the word Verts? I've always
um,
wondered that.
I don't know the deepest of deep lore on it. I do know that originally it was derived from the French ver for green, and then it was sort
Oh,
of tied to our sprout, to sort of plant growth,
that works.
freshness, newness, kind of a thing. But it's sort of
What
taken on its own. It's sort of taken on a name of its own. The very much Verts. Nobody here in Missouri really sees or cares too much about its French origins. But they love kind of what we're about, being out in the
Yeah.
community and doing
Im-
those kind of things.
imagine that a state where we've got cities like St. Louis and Cape Girardeau and uh, St. Francis County and
The
things
Florida
like that.
Lee.
And we don't give a shit about that because otherwise it would be called St. Louis and Cape Girardeau
Right.
and St. Francois. Yeah, we don't give a shit that it was French. It's Verts now,
Yeah,
not
it's
not
Missouri now,
anything
dude.
else.
It's
Yep.
Midwest as it comes now, my guy.
Yeah.
I To be fair, I always thought it was a play on vertical. Like I thought it was
So
because
did
of it
I.
being a vertical operation.
So did
Yeah,
I.
that is, and that would have made sense. We've since, I think, in the last year, unfortunately, the grow in Colorado has discontinued. But originally, yeah, all the people that had been to Colorado first and then come out here, they were used to buying Vert's branded cannabis, and so they kind of, I think that's kind of what they thought too, was vertically integrated. I've also got there's like a skating company, and then also like a mountain hiking shoe accoutrement, sort of, I don't know, something you attach to your boot. But we all we all share some similar, or the same spelling of the name. So yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
So
I've
you
got a bunch of questions.
go, baby, go.
love it.
I've got a bunch of questions about the company and stuff, but because I know you a little bit and because I'm familiar with the brand and stuff, I wanted to pick up on a conversation that Tim and I were just having a few minutes ago. We were talking about it's been kind of a recurring theme for the last few episodes with us, is patience
Yeah.
overall, just kind of the theme. But specifically he had brought up that there was an article recently that was talking about the way that the cannabis industry is essentially failing patients because of the lack of specific knowledge and marketing and catering towards patients now, and the push to become more quick stop, come in, get your product and get out without any explanation, without any education and things like that. One of the reasons I wanted to bring that up with you is because I know that you historically and the way that you handle retail and just kind of the culture of Verts overall has been kind of the antithesis of that. And so I'd love to kind of get a perspective on both how and why you guys are choosing to still prioritize medical, even in a booming adult use state.
Yeah, I mean that's a deep one. I think about that a lot because I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, it's something like 80 to 85%, I think, of our customers are adult use. And actually, I kind of prefer the term. I get why we do adult use. I like recreational, only because like recreation, when done with intention, can still be, a sort of healing or a sort of, medical. So I mean, I think, and this is coming from someone I'm a little bit more intense than maybe I let on. I do work a lot. Like I tried. It's hard for me to really sit down, to stop moving, to to kind of get that rest. So I do think that even, when people come in without that medical designation, that a lot of people are looking for just that, just like a little break, a little space to be able to, appreciate their mind, their body, their home. And then you kind of, you run into issues with like, say like veterans. It's happening less and less, but still common enough to be heartbreaking is that, if a veteran lets their doctor know that they're thinking about cannabis, it can adjust how that doctor, gives out their medication. I've heard it, not recently, it's not happening as much, but people being taken off of certain pain meds and then having to rely solely on cannabis is, as much as I love the plant and what it can do, there's just certain levels of pain, bone on bone. It's severe pain that you kind of need a little bit of everything in order to manage that. That's something that I always encourage, bud tenders to let people know, something that I still, any customer that comes through, I always try to encourage, like the lowest effective dose. I like to consume a little bit of extra cannabis here and there. I do like to try new things, and but if a person can find through the different methods, whether that's topical, which is something that I hope really takes off, because especially like CBD topically is incredible. It's got my grandma back out in the garden again. Like 2 years ago, she didn't really understand what I was doing, and then through necessity, she asked for help, got it, and things improved. And so it's, I see it in real ways, kind of helping in more than just, the, kind of weed party sort of a thing. So, I mean, I'm sorry, I've kind of got off track, but I think just gearing each, shopping experience for the individual, really trying to drill down to what they're looking for. Like, what are, if it's for sleep or whatever it is, and try to get them there as easily as possible, and in using as many different kind of modes of application to try to address those issues in different ways. And then just kind of encouraging people to not view a THC potency as the be all end all of what their shopping experience is. I know that a lot of people, that's how they do the math, especially for edibles and certain flower. It's like how many dollars per THC milligram. But just kind of whether that's whole flower grown the right way, really really well, or some of these edibles that kind of maybe allow you to infuse things on your own, so you don't have to maybe have higher sugar volume or things like that, to just sort of help nudge people's wellness towards whatever their goals might be. That's what we encourage, is just try a little bit of everything. It's fun to experiment. Weed should still be fun, like it should. But someone who if they're having trouble walking and they've never tried a topical because their knees or whatever, I mean, these things are hurting. It's like, it would be really trying to educate everyone from the medical to the adult use recreational side about the different modes that in the ways that this plant medicine can help, and just try to. I always tell people, it's not going to eradicate insane pain. It's not going to eradicate your depression, but it will allow you the space to sort of view it differently and manage it better, and then hopefully sort of incorporate other things in your life, exercise, certain kinds of diet, to actually improve. It's not a miracle bullet, so to speak, even though, I mean, yeah, it shrinks tumors, it can do amazing things, but for most people, just integrating it in a small little ways to try to kind of nudge them towards wellness is something I think anyone that walks in the door can take advantage of that.
Alex, you did bring up a lot of good points, but one of them, it was a good reminder for me, is, sometimes I think of the medical side and the recreational side as two completely different sets of people. You have your people on the medical side that are trying to deal with some pain management and that kind of stuff. And then you got the other side that sometimes I think, they're just going in to get the highest THC. They want to get messed up tonight and just block out everything. There are people that also want to go in that have had a brutal week and maybe take a puff of something and then go work in the yard. They're not looking to get super high, looking to, have a great time and everything. They just need a reset, or go on a hike, be in nature, do some grounding, that kind of stuff. Like, there's also that sector too. So sometimes I thank you for the reminder, because sometimes I get in the whole thing of like, it's almost like they're going against each other. You got the 22-year-olds coming in just to find the highest THC so they can get blown out that night, and then you got the veterans coming in that are just trying to find something to help with their knee pain and that kind of stuff. You forget that there's a whole sector of people that just want to feel good, and especially nowadays with just everything being complete madness, they just need a break sometimes, and I feel like sometimes I forget about that segment, which is probably a majority of the people that walk in the door of a dispensary.
100%.
That's
yeah.
one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite things about both you and Verts, is that the way that you guys handle business is exactly the way that you and Tim both talked about dispensaries and patients and consumers. Is that Verts is one of the few dispensaries that I've been in where I don't think I've ever had anyone recommend the highest THC percentage for something. It's not the only one, but one of the only ones that I've ever been in that I don't think I've ever had anyone recommend the highest THC percentage as the quote unquote best thing. It feels like a lot more it feels like a lot more intimate experience and unrushed than a lot of stores now do in that adult use has been legalized. I think everybody, for the most part, used to feel like they got that one-on-one, take as much time as you need approach. And I don't know that the stores themselves are actually like trying to push people through, but I think whenever you get there, because they don't immediately say, hey, what are you looking for, and things like that, you have a video board, you have 7 layers of disconnection between you and you can have your entire order ready to go without ever actually talking to a human other than the one that checks your ID and then checks your ID again so you can take the bag. While all of that convenience is great, the times that I've been to Verts, you guys have always been engaging. And I've been to multiple different locations. At each location, different bud tender, different city, different time, I've been engaged, I've been welcomed, and I think that the way that you guys engage the community seems to have a lot to do with your philosophy, because you bring that kind of medical and fun, and everybody's got a reason for being here, so why not invite everybody kind of feel to everything that you guys do. We've talked to Joey from Belief and Suede recently. We've talked to Sam Toman from High Fidelity, and two of the biggest parts of those companies are culture and ethos. And I met you through Nick. I met Nick through one of my favorite people in the industry, Tim Guchenritter from Timeless. From Nick, I've met Amber, I've met Mal, I've met so many people that work in your company, and everybody has this different personality, different vibe, different take, but each one of you kind of seems to encapsulate the same thing that's awesome about the different Verts dispensaries in the state, is that everybody's got a different flavor, different vibe, but everybody's here for the same reason, to have a good time and to be helpful. And maybe this store is really into helping the animal shelter, maybe this store is really into helping organize a food drive or whatever. It seems like you guys aren't just one size fits all, because you've realized that the communities that you're in aren't one size fits all. So instead of me explaining all of that, since I finally figured out how to ask that question, what makes you guys take such different approaches in the communities that you're in?
Um, it's an amazing question. I think part of it is out of necessity because I think to pretend that, and it's not to knock, any stores that might have, 7 or 8 here in Kansas City, or, any type of like large metro, but like we certainly can't pretend that, especially like when we had our store up in Gallatin, that was, about 7 hours, from our Dexter store. And I mean, totally different weather, people, cultures, like everything is different. So trying to sort of distill what it is that like we want like cannabis and good service to do for people, and it's just kind of just going back to what I mentioned before, just sort of nudging somebody towards something more positive. And I mean, it's not, again, it's not usually super grand, but it's just something that just try to move the needle. It's like like a momentum thing where I mean, and we've been doing it. Excuse me, we've been doing it, 4 years now of slow and steady. But at this point, people know that we're going to be out in the community. People expect it when they see us. It's yeah, whether we're up to our knees in a creek picking up trash, or we're playing with the dogs, or we're you know we just came off of doing our neighborhood block party on April 12th, where we have a big, and it's very much a, more like adult use. It's 21 only type of thing that we do. We do 3 of these events in Joplin every year. But, all the money that we raise from the vendors goes directly to the people that run the bar and grill. It's a family run operation that in just 5 years has gone from, bikers, getting in fights just outside, to when it got to this new ownership group and we got connected with them. It's, they got kids fishing in the creek. They got, some disc golf baskets put up on some property they cleared. They've got, it's just, and the entire community, like Verts, like we kind of help spearhead that, but every single partner that has come out there with us to hang out, to just kind of spread that positivity has impacted this one particular family's life like more than it can even be put into words. They are the most grateful people. They are the most gracious people. And they didn't sort of like turn their nose up to us, when we first kind of came to them and said we wanted to kind of, do these gatherings and see if we could kind of help both of our businesses. So yeah, it's just, and where we're hiring, everybody's from there too. So it's like, when we were first training, it's like I would walk in, and that's what I started out, was like budtender training, and everything, like people would be talking about streets you had no idea about, even in, smaller towns. It's like, you don't know the streets, you don't know the surrounding towns, you don't know anything. And then, through just being at each store and hearing all these conversations and just knowing how different they are, knowing that, Pacific has a set of caves in the middle of town that when, weather starts to change, the air from inside the caves can come out and sort of, change pressure systems locally and move storms around. And so like and it's just like, not that that necessarily has anything direct impact on sales, but just like little things like that, just being like, wow, like this, you get to know what's important to people, what they know, what is kind of integral to their experience. And then you just, you kind of see how, good service and kindness and cannabis can all kind of fit in there. And we feel like it almost always can.
Yeah, Alex, I can tell you your Pacific location pretty much encapsulates that exact feeling. When I a couple of years ago, I went in with my company Green Frame, and we featured one of your bud tenders, Miss Sheila, and dude, I felt like it was kind of surreal. I have to admit, I felt like the feeling of this was a town diner that had been around for 50 years, and everyone knew each other by first name. People were coming in. Every bud tender knew them by, their name, how is your family, all that kind of stuff. It was that surreal to where I was like, man, I felt like I was missing out on this experience. Like I need to come here more often because it felt so wholesome. And even talking with Miss Sheila, and she was outstanding. And I did an interview with her, and she was like, "Can you send this to my granddaughter or my daughter?" And I was like, "How cool is this? What a great feeling!" Like I literally left feeling like, "Wow, what an amazing atmosphere." And you could tell by the people coming in and out of there that it was just another hometown, event, attraction, store that was just part of everybody's, daily, weekly routine.
Also, how
100%.
many directors of retail can tell you about the change in the pressure system from, the like that's one of the things that I love about this company and the culture that they Alex and Nick and the rest of the team have created is they really do know the ins and outs of each of their locations, and whether they're walking in a parade or whether they're doing a coat drive or a toy drive, it seems like they're constantly engaged in the community, and you expect them to be on the back of the little league t-shirt, and oh,
No, I was just gonna say like that's like I don't think I'm really saying anything by saying this, but the Little League T-shirt thing that you mentioned, I mean, and just having been on the topic of Pacific specifically, like we were reached out from the a group that works with the high school that is sort of like preventing drug and alcohol abuse in teens, and they want us to sponsor because we are a responsible version of that we're adjacent to obviously marijuana use, but it's we're part of the education of it, we're part of harm reduction, we're part of destigmatizing, to the point where like even the high school is gonna put us on a t-shirt to help further these goals. I mean, it's such a far cry from 4 years ago being at the Stoddard County Fair in Dexter, and me and Amber, like just with promotional lighters, just walking up to people who were smoking cigarettes that maybe we could have a conversation, because like it was so, that we were so new and everything was so, even the people who wanted to talk about it didn't know how. So it just, we've come such a long way. It feels like completely surreal. Yeah, I can't wait to see where it continues to go. And and if we're always open to like any new ideas, like anything that's local. Like we don't, if maybe if a community might have, or if a certain organization might have like a religious affiliation or this or that, like we're less concerned with that and more concerned with like what work they do. So we like look at what they do and see if we can support. And we're always open to try to put a little bit more person power and a little bit more funds to the community at large, but especially specifically like in the towns that we're in. So it's nice to be able to just be part of the solution in that way, and also just be part of just showing that this industry is full of normal, like well-intentioned people trying to create a long-standing business, something that's that we can continue to serve. That this isn't a fix and flip, some like let the don't worry about what's going on in the basement type. Like we look at everything all the time to make sure that we've got the best people from day one all the way up and to people making decisions, like the biggest decisions that we make as a company. So I'm humbled, especially by the attitudes of the folks in store, and especially people like Sheila that are just always concerned with other people and providing the highest level of service. And then like everything else is just kind of gravy. Like we haven't spent, and this is a tiny brag, but we haven't spent $1 on Google. So like we don't have as many like, the wide, variety with like the crazy usernames that some places have to, kind of get those numbers up. Like every single person that's come in, we have looked in the face and we have, helped them probably, at least 3 times. We, yeah, we're very much about that connection. And sorry, kind of like looping back to like, being rushed versus, kind of taking the time. Like we do have drive-throughs at 3 of our stores. We can appreciate people who are on a time crunch, and we love to sell as much product as we can, but our team is really good at, pulling in, a couple people at a time, if need be, sort of assessing who, might be more pressed for time or needs, a little bit more conversation. If someone's completely content to look, kind of look around the store for a moment while, something gets handled, like that, the communication starts right there. It's from reception, someone coming in and, if reception's got a second, talking to them about their day, talking to them about their potential products, like letting them know about specials, priming that experience so that then when they come through the door, it's like the bud tender's like, oh, hey, yeah, it's good to see you. Just continuing it right along. And, if you look in the back, someone from fulfillment will wave because, we're never too busy to make that sale the absolute best it can be. If a bud tender isn't sure about some new product just received, and which is me all the time, anytime I'm filling in, it's overwhelming, the number of SKUs and things. I applaud people who can keep it on track, but I have to chat with fulfillment. We're going back and forth. It's like we're all, all having this kind of open conversation to figure it out. And then, you've got people too who know exactly what they want. They are going to buy the high dose, like no matter what suggestions, which I'm happy with that too, because if they know exactly what they want, and they get those gummies, then I find it's a perfect opportunity to kind of talk about other modes of, administering the plant too. Because if someone's taking something for pain, I'm a huge topicals guy, but just going back to that, just being like, hey, like I hope you enjoy your gummies and you get exactly what you need out of that. Let me tell you about this product. Let me make a note on your profile. So if, next time you come in, if you're wondering about this again, we can let you know. We put people on product callback lists to let them specifically know when things that they want come back. Like that's not something that I've heard of in a lot of other places.
You know who else does that? Is my favorite record store. Like that's the only place I get treated like that.
Yeah.
Is my favorite record store. New albums coming out. I know you've got every Blink album. I know you've got every, Interrupters album and stuff like that. Did you see that there's a new release coming out? Oh, don't forget Record Store Day. We're gonna have, blah blah blah. We're gonna have these promotional items and stuff. I don't get treated like that at restaurants, dispensaries. I don't get treated like that anywhere except the place where it feels like they know me the best. And so the fact that you guys do that and you treat people like that with something both as simple and as complicated as cannabis, because to your point, you can make the transaction very, very simple. Come in, buy your product, leave. But even if you come in, you buy your product, we see an opportunity. If you're in a rush, we're not going to slow you down. But if you've got a second, hey, just in case, think about this. I don't, there's nobody else in my life, other than my record store guy, that whenever I come in and I make a purchase and he's already got my money and I'm ready to be out the door, that takes the time to be like, oh, hey, by the way, did you forget or did you remember that X, Y, and Z is going on? And so I love that I always think that the culture of companies it's one thing to designate what you want your culture to be and what you want your brand to be, but to have the people that reinforce it, and to have you as the director of retail, and then to have the staff that you guys have and the team that you have you can't have that culture in those stores without having people who believe in it from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and shout out to Amber Taylor. She's fantastic. And the fact that the two of you have been around for so long says a lot about your company too, because there's so much turnover in this industry. To see people be at the company for as long as you two have been, that says a lot, you know. One of the questions I had is in Michigan. I know you guys are up in the UP up there in Traverse City.
Yes.
So I spent some time in Traverse City as a kid, picking cherries and selling them in a bushel basket on the side of the road. That is a very unique community, to say the least, Traverse City. What is it? Is it a different environment? Is it a different situation as it is here in Missouri? I know that the regulations, the rules are different, but how has it been going on the Michigan side?
Yeah, I'll only speak to like in terms of like the communities and the culture. Like I know very little. I've been up there twice, kind of in the early stages. I saw the town. I saw some of the people in the slower time of year, but I don't know it super duper well. But I mean it has been a bit of a challenge with the market. Like a lot of vertically integrated companies, similar to Missouri, but I mean, I can't even remember. I know that like a lot of other dispensaries are doing like, I think it's like 3 for $10 on 200 milligram gummies or something like that. Like unfathomable to the Missouri market. Yeah, like just and when I went up there, you can find everything from like a decent cheap edible to one that's like tastes like NyQuil and dirt, and it's just like but yeah, it's been a challenge up there too. I think just with them kind of having a busy time and a slow time of year. That's a lot different than what we experience in Missouri, where for the most part we're right off of an interstate at all of our stores. There's their ability for cross traffic. I mean, even Dexter, there's not a lot of direct routes, but once you're down there, I mean, everything from Poplar Bluff to Sykes and Cape Girardeau all the way south down to Arkansas and I think even Tennessee and further. I mean, it's like, there's accessible paths there. Whereas with, Traverse City, it seems like you got to be going to Traverse City, otherwise, which I think is maybe just part of the challenge of, it's like when I drove up there, I think it was like just a couple country highways and there's only a certain amount of ways to go up there. So yeah, I mean, the overall like condition of the market has definitely been really, really tough for us. And then sort of juggling the busy time, slow time thing is something that I couldn't speak on too much because I'm not used to that. We have a little bit of that here in Missouri where summers pick up and, maybe right after school starts, it's slow, and maybe February it's a bit slow, but like there's nothing, in terms of like seasonal traffic like that. So those are still some challenges we're still sorting through. I think, we were in conversations with a cultivator to sort of figure out how to source some of that stuff to get the prices in a more competitive zone. But and I don't think there's any other dispensaries. Well, no, there's a few just like down the street. But I mean, there are, so like the competition's very high. And it has its challenges in that way. It's you're trying to get the locals to come all year round is a bit of a challenge.
And Michigan's one of those states that, unfortunately, we've seen it in California, we've seen it in Washington and Oregon. Colorado's had it a few times. It's kind of fluctuated, but Oklahoma's suffered from it because of the rapid expansion and growth of Oklahoma a few years ago. Even with the moratorium on licenses, what happened was one of the things we saw very quickly was you had Missouri patients, and as somebody that has operations in Joplin, I'm sure you heard this a lot. You had Missouri patients and people in Missouri talking about how much better and cheaper and everything weed in Oklahoma was from literally day one. And then prices just not even steadily declining, but plummeting because of the oversaturation of the Oklahoma market. And with the prices plummeting, you also had a plummet in quality. And then once they stepped in and they started, oh, we should actually be requiring testing, we should be requiring, track and trace, we all of a sudden the prices in some places started to go back up because we had raced to the bottom, but then we weren't accounting for all the things that everybody else is paying for in other markets and things like that. And I think that's what we're seeing a little bit in Michigan and some of the other markets is Missouri has kind of, we've decreased steadily and at what I would consider a realistic pace for a market. Whenever you look at the overall situation of economics in America, everything has gone up over the last few years, and weed in Missouri has continued to go down or stay the same. Um, what we didn't do is race so quickly to the bottom that we hurt our businesses and that we crippled some of our companies, and that we now have thousands of empty shelves and hundreds of businesses that are no longer working because we just bottomed out our prices. And I think that's what we saw in Oklahoma with a lot of the, some of the larger towns still have a ton of successful businesses. But whenever you used to go into a small town or a border town and they had, 20 dispensaries, they may have one or two now. They don't have 20 in the places that they used to. And I think that's a lot of what has happened in Michigan to some degree too, is the saturation was so high, the market was so fresh and was thriving so hard, but your next closest partner is Illinois, which is also a hugely successful state. You have some states around you, but now you've got Minnesota coming on with marijuana and things like that. They're losing a lot of the border states that made them unique, and they've already bottomed out those prices. So that's one of the things that I look at with Missouri is we're a border state. We have Kansas, which has no access. We have Nebraska, which has very little access. Iowa, Iowa, which has very little access. Illinois, which has all the access you could want. Kentucky, very little access. Tennessee, limited access. Arkansas, the best out of what we have around us, because I would say that while Arkansas has more access than all of the other states except for Illinois, it's still limited, but the quality there is going to be substantially better than what we're seeing in Oklahoma. In half of that doesn't mean Oklahoma doesn't have great products, great operators, great brands and things like that, but Oklahoma is hit and miss. If you go into dispensary 1, they may have 30 different brands and 400 SKUs on their shelf. You go into dispensary 2, they may have only in-house and it may be absolute garbage. You go into dispensary 3, it may be only in-house and it may be the best thing you've ever had in your life, but you're only going to get it in that one location on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 to 5 p.m. because they now have to have a regular job on top of this dispensary that they opened 4 years ago, because there was a race to the bottom and there were at one point 11,000 licenses in that state.
Staggering. That's I can't even fathom that, really. Like, I mean, I had been in Tulsa a couple years ago, and I had seen, like, I was on some street corner, and at each corner there was a dispensary. One had already closed, one was open with the door hanging, or the sign hanging off the wall. But I was just like, compared to Missouri, or where I had kind of come from and what I had seen, limited in Colorado, I was like, this is. I mean, I knew that wasn't sustainable. That, like, it was either the market was going to suffer or eventually somebody would kind of have to come and change it and be a better player.
Sylvester Stallone can't fix all the dispensaries in Oklahoma.
Is that what that show's about? I have not seen it, but that's amazing.
So he's a retired mobster that gets kicked out of New York, and he's forced to go to Tulsa, and so he shows up in Tulsa, and he immediately like takes over a dispensary operation, sets up shop, and starts making all kinds of moves, buys a bar, starts laundering money and shit like that. It's his best work since Demolition Man, like.
What
is this called?
Tulsa King.
Tulsa King.
Oh, okay. I've seen.
It's on
I've only seen the
Paramount,
trailers. Yeah, I haven't. But now I'm definitely in.
I didn't know it was about that.
Look, the three of us we'll get together one weekend. We'll have a Tulsa King marathon, and I'm telling you, it's not. He's not going to win an Academy Award for it.
It's not what I want. That's not what I want out of Sly.
Man, it's one of my favorite shows, and shout out to man, I can't remember his name right now, and it's gonna bother me, but the same dude that created Mayor of Kingstown, created 1923 and all those Yellowstone shows and stuff like that. Taylor something. He was a writer on Sons of Anarchy for a little while, and has been on a bunch of stuff, and not everything, because I never got into the Yosemite shows, but everything else he's done, I've just loved. A big fan of Mayor of Kingstown, big fan of Tulsa King. Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to check it out. I've been with the 1-year-old at home. I've been watching a lot of Bear in the Big Blue House. So I'm trying to transition back to like real people type shows, but slowly but surely.
Yep.
I 100% get it. You let me know, because I'm about with the exception of Tulsa King, I'm about 4 to 5 years behind on most things. So you let me know as you come back, and I'll get you reassimilated into pop culture and stuff, because as somebody that has a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old, I've had 2 of those breaks in life where it's like, oh, I can't watch anything but Bluey, or whenever he was younger, it was
The Wiggles,
Bob the Builder, and we there were no Wiggles in our house, sir, only because we found a YouTube channel that did lullaby versions of pop punk songs.
Yeah.
So we used to listen to a lot of like Blink 182, done on like xylophone and chimes and stuff.
Rock My Baby.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, dude, we do that all the time too. Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's going in the notebook. That's going.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. So
if you have Spotify, I think I have a playlist. I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. We got off on Tulsa King and
this
lullaby playlists and stuff.
This is a great transition. I mean, we learned a ton about Verts. Let's learn about Alex.
Well, before we do that, I apologize.
Go.
I'm good.
And we can time out this part, but he did say they wanted to talk about their Chicago operations and stuff that. And so I was going to tie back into the MSO part.
Yeah.
So before we do that, before we get to Alex, what I would like to talk about a little bit is, you guys as an MSO, you have operations in Colorado that have been successful. You guys have made some strategic changes over the last few years. I believe you guys are just retail in Colorado now, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, a lot of really good partnerships with some manufacturers. Like we've got like Dialed In rosin gummies. We're still great partners with them. So like
then getting ready to drop in Missouri.
Yes, they are.
And then in Missouri, you guys have retail and you have a manufacturing arm that is tied to branding partnerships and things like that.
Yes, yeah. So the manufacturer is called Alpha Fusion. It's mostly distillate production for world. We don't do a lot of we're not really doing infused pre-rolls or anything like that yet. So it's just keeping it simple, and then kind of partnering with other MIPS to kind of keep them supplied.
And then obviously we've talked about the retail in Michigan, but you guys also have ties to a social equity license in Illinois. I don't believe it's Verts branded. I could be wrong about that, but my understanding is this is partnership in order to kind of help build and share knowledge, essentially. Is that something we're allowed to talk about, or
Yeah, no,
did,
100%.
I put my foot in my mouth,
No,
or?
no. It's kind of it's an interesting thing to, because we don't have the kind of massive like MSO footprint that some other companies have. I mean, there's people that have more in the Northwest region of Missouri, more stores or operations than we have like in the entire nation. So in terms of like our the Chicago project, that's something we've partnered with Perception Cannabis up there in Rogers Park. And I'm not super familiar with, Chicago geographics, but I know it's near the lake. I know that they are a community that loves their community. Like we couldn't have asked for a better opportunity to kind of do what it is that we do. There is so it's Rogers Park is a little bit of a smaller area, a lot of walk up traffic to this particular store. They have like the corner of a city block as their sort of entrance. So
cool.
It is, I mean, and I've only seen pictures because I didn't get to see it actually after it had been built and operational. But yeah, when that did become operational, we sent team members out there just to kind of, help them learn point of sale, little things like that. And also just trying to, again, just slowly, gradually shift the momentum back towards service, back towards, sort of specific person-to-person experience. It seems to me the most popular way to get, cannabis in Illinois, I mean Chicago particularly, is pre-order. Or you come in there, you just punch it in on the kiosk in the lobby. You don't really talk to anybody. And maybe that's because the prices are so high. You're feeling like, I'm already paying, whatever it is for a 0.5 gram card. I really gotta get moving today. But we found that, the team that we partnered with wanted something different. So we partnered with them to kind of help with that hospitality. We used some of our connections to create a very, very fun and colorful mural for them that's sort of similar to our Kansas City one, if you've ever seen that. Very bright colors. This fun thing where it's done well, but it's not taking itself too seriously. It's something fun to look at, but it's not totally garbled to where you don't know what you're looking at. Beautiful project, and it seems because I maintain their Google reviews and some of their online presence as well. And I mean, the overwhelming majority of, feedback that we're getting is, this is my neighborhood spot. So although they're not, a Verts Neighborhood Dispensary, I would, argue they're the Perception, neighborhood dispensary. They are the ones, the community part of it hasn't, sort of taken off in the same way, just because I think part of it is they're still so focused on the rush of operations right now, and they are absolutely blessed with walk-up traffic. So, I mean, there's, back in the day for us, we had downtime. So part of the community aspect was, how do we talk to people without, putting weed on a flag and waving it around? Like, how do we go and engage with these people and change the perception no pun intended with their naming there, of what cannabis is and what service in this industry looks like. So we definitely expect to see more and more. They're one of the few places that has dedicated parking, which means they've got a dedicated area they could maybe do some events, pending state regulations, of which I know very little to none. So I won't comment too much on that. But I mean, yeah, doing more events, getting more engaged with the community out there outside of direct sales is something that I know they're looking to do, and we're always, you know, willing to help them with. But it is very exciting. They're doing super well up there, and their team has actually kind of helped us with you know, some other. So there's some give and take, like some back end stuff to kind of help with our website. For example, they've helped us optimize and sort of make every click count a little bit more. So I mean, it's been, you know, mutually beneficial in different ways, and we're helping each other grow. So I mean, it couldn't be better from where I'm sitting right now.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And I, like I said, I wasn't sure how much we could talk about it because it's not a Verts branded store, but you know, we've said Verts the whole time. The key part that I keep missing in the name is Neighborhood Dispensary. And I think whenever we say the full name, you know, Verts Neighborhood Dispensary, it really brings it full circle as to why the culture of the company is the way it is, why you guys have the community interactions and integrations that you do, why the ethos of each individual store is reflective of the place and people that it's in, and why you have a partnership with a company like Perception that is, you know, you guys are an MSO, but MSO is kind of one of those dirty words in the cannabis industry where you hear MSO and you think, you know, coming in to swallow up and buy up and buy out and take over and control and things like that. And it's not always like that. Sometimes it is. Sometimes that's for the benefit of the community. Sometimes it's to the detriment. But my favorite part is whenever it's nothing but just love, like what you guys are doing with Perception. It's a partnership in the same way that you guys have partnered with the people and stores and organizations in every other community you've inhabited to this point. And so I've been a big fan of Verts Neighborhood Dispensary. I've been a big fan of Verts since I met Nick and started, you know, learning about it. I've been a big fan of you since I first met you. And uh, I I really appreciate the thought and focus that you guys bring to everything you do. Whether it's, you know, some wild adventurous Halloween party, or whether it's, you know, collecting coats or toys for the toy drive for the uh, local children's what the only word I can think of is orphanage, but I know that's not the word we use anymore. Um, you guys do so many different things that are so ingrained in the areas around you that it sometimes makes me feel like I'm watching a Campbell's soup commercial whenever I talk to your team, because my heart just kind of feels warm. And it grows a little bit like the Grinch, just by knowing you guys, because then I'm like, hey, I don't do anything good for anyone, but I'm friends with people who are really fucking nice. And it makes me feel like a better person by extension, you know? Speaking of nice people, Tim, I know you have some questions you'd like to get to with Alex, because I have been talking a lot today.
No, I mean, Alex has told us a lot about Verts, and who is Alex? I feel like Jiminy Glick.
Right.
Tell us, why don't we do this? Why don't you tell us this? Because we can find a lot out about you, because of course we don't have a lot of time left now, but you're stranded on an island. And you, for some reason, you have a CD player. What are three What are three CDs that you bring with, three albums that you bring with to that island? I know it's tough, man.
This is my first instinct is Blizzard of Oz, because it is like my attention span is like, I like slightly longer form things, but it's short and it's like dynamic and it's got like, you know, some of the greatest stuff on it. And then like right in the middle, there's like this, you know, the beautiful little 45-second instrumental like thing to like break things up. And I could listen to that doing dishes, going on a run. Like yeah, like all day. And then just, I mean, the thing that comes to mind, because I might need 2 CDs for it, is like just a Prince discography. Just as much Prince as you can physically put on a CD, live, not live, unreleased, give, you know, something he wrote for someone else that he's singing into a tin can. Like, I'm like, come on, like, bring it on. I mean, I would put those at those, but I mean, there's probably so many other things.
Can you give us your best Prince impression?
Let's see. That was it. Just that.
That was good.
Thank you.
You know what? That was good.
Thank
that was
you.
pretty accurate.
Yeah, micro impression. I got. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep them concise.
Hey, that's how I dose is micro.
Yeah,
so.
100%.
Oh my gosh, Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
This was great. Obviously we've said it 1,000 times. We're big fans of Verts, and to learn a little bit more about the backbone and the history of Verts was very helpful to both of us, and I'm sure our listeners as well. So thank you for the time, brother, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you down the road.
Absolutely. Anything you need, just holler. We'll try to help.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey man, I really appreciate you taking the time. Big fan of you and your tie-dye shirts, and so thank you very much.
And thank you guys. Thank
I look
you for
forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, your platform is amazing. We're grateful to be a part of something that's spreading positivity and knowledge and entertaining the booth.